That's wild. That's wild. That's wild. It's pretty wild. That's wild. That's wild. That's wild. Those buffs are wild. That's wild. Good night and a half. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Empty Wallets Army Spotlight. I am here with Gabe. And we are talking about Blades of Khorne.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Christopher.
Nice to meet you, Christopher.
Sometimes they call me Chris. Sometimes they call me Christopher. It's just kind of the flavor of the day.
It is really flavor of the sentence, actually.
But this one's a long time coming because you have been wanting an update for Blades of Khorne forever. So tell me a little bit about the mechanics, some of the big mechanics. Tell me a little bit about your army.
Well, before we get into the mechanics of the army, let me tell you why I picked Khorne.
Oh, you know what? You're right. That's a good point.
We should go into a little bit of
go
why
into
I picked them.
go into the background. Why did you pick Khorne as an army?
When we originally bought this game, I bought Fire Slayers. I was like, Fire Slayers are cool, but I want more models, so I bought Khorne.
Right.
Khorne had big red demons, and I saw Bloodthirster, and I'm like, that's dope. I want that. So that's what I bought and started building them out. Really loved them in AOS 2, and then they stripped them down when AOS 3 came out. It was very sad, and I didn't like playing them anymore. So then I waited a long time, played a lot of Fire Slayers, and now here we are with a brand new book.
Brand new book.
Brand new vibe.
Brand new rules.
I love it.
And would you say they've gotten a pretty good update for people who don't know?
Yes.
Cool.
At least the way I like to play them. So I prefer to play all demons. Let me preface that. I play with mortals, but I prefer just a bunch of demons on the table. That's how I like to play them.
Okay.
So in that regard, absolutely 1,000% way more fun to play just a demon army.
Now, why is that to you?
One of the big things that they did was they had some models that were mortals before that you had to take. Priests, banners, things like that. And they've given those keywords and those abilities to some of the demon heroes that used to exist and were kind of just there. So that's been a huge update for them.
So tell me about some traits of your army. Like, tell me about some army-wide traits that you like. Tell me a little bit about their mechanics, too. Go into that a little bit.
So one of the big things that Khorne has are blood points.
Blood points.
Blood points are the bread and butter.
They suck.
Khorne. They're great.
The blood points are not fun.
Blood points can be used to either give you abilities in the game, or they can be used to summon demons. And so the way you get blood points, the main way, is when a unit dies on the table. You get a blood point. Could be your units, could be your opponent's units, whoever. As long as a unit dies, you get a blood point.
Okay.
Now what they've added with blood points, which is awesome, is anytime a Khorne unit is affected by a spell or endless spell, if you roll a dice on a 5-up, they negate the effects of the endless spell or spell, and you get a blood point.
That's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Well, that's cool because they have a lot of anti-magic stuff, right?
Yeah, Khorne hates magic. Yep. That's kind of the lore there is he doesn't like to have anything to do with magic. You can't take spells as Khorne. You cannot take any of that stuff. So I believe you even can't ally heroes from other factions if they have the wizard keyword. Yeah.
Really? Okay. That's kind of cool.
It's very cool. So very prayer heavy, and then obviously very anti-magic. So
you have a lot of dispels, right?
A lot of dispels. So there's some units, we'll get into that have a lot of dispels.
Got it.
But that's a really big anti-magic thing anyways. So not only do I have a feel no pain on magic, but I also get a blood point. So certain armies will give me, could get 8 points in a round, 8 blood points. And for reference, I can summon a Bloodthirster with 10 points. So
that's pretty. And now that you get those off of the dispels, those can come in like round 2.
Yeah. I mean,
we played a game and it like came beginning of round 2.
I played a Seraphon player who, Croak does these crazy things. And
you're
it's anytime they're affected. So it's not once per spell. It's anytime they're affected. So
that's wild. So you were saying that you can't bring anything you can't bring any wizards, any of that. So most of actually everything is going to be priest-based, correct?
Yes.
All prayer-based, but they can still dispel. But so tell me a little bit more about your specific units and what you take specifically in your army. Are there any, like, I know you said demons, right? So you take a lot of demons, but tell me a little bit about those units.
I like to play a lot of demons, like I said. That's my thing. And Khorne has another ability there's 2 more abilities with Khorne. One that's for mortals, one that's for demons. The demon one is that while they are wholly outside of 8 inches, I believe, because that's his number, they get a 5-up ward to all range or to all attacks.
Right, which is probably going to be
Is all
mainly
range. So that's why I say ranged, but it's anything that does damage.
Does that count for magic
board.
too?
It does.
Oh, that's
so
pretty
as
cool.
long as I'm wholly outside of 8 inches from all enemy. So if I'm in combat and something outside shoots me, I don't get it.
Okay.
Now if I retreat, I lose that ability for the rest of the battle.
Wow. So you're gonna have to keep track of your units that retreat. Yep. Do you retreat a lot as
Not
Khorne,
really. I don't tend to retreat. In general.
I don't think I've ever seen you retreat.
And they also just move slow, so it's not. Yeah. And then Bloodbound, which I do have a few units I play just for battle line, have a ability that while they're within 3 inches of an enemy unit and they die, for every model that dies, I roll a dice. On a 5-up, I do a mortal wound. So
that's wild.
They can kind of deal some damage back, but that's only for the mortals. So demons get the ward, mortals get the extra damage.
Okay, but you're taking demons mostly anyway, so you're not really worried about that. But that's how you play.
And there's lots of different ways to play Khorne. There's so many models, so we can get into the types of models that I like to play with. Obviously,
so what type do you like?
So obviously demons, but mainly bloodthirsters.
Right.
They're the big ones. They're the ones that drew me in. They're like, that's what the army I want to play. In the past, there used to be, when War Scroll battalions were a thing, you could take 3 bloodthirsters and they'd have this really cool ability with one attack and the next one attack and the next one attack. And it was awesome. This heyday, right?
Those were always rough.
And then they stripped it, and then nobody played Khorne because
that was kind of their whole shtick.
Right, or if they did, people played them with mostly Slave to Darkness. So we would have 80% of the army is Archeon, and then a bunch of just Slave to Darkness while playing under Khorne, which I just didn't want to do. I wanted to play demons.
It's not Khorne. You're playing almost like a different army.
Right. So Bloodthirsters now have a Baleful Lords subfaction, which kind of gives them some buffs while they're near each other. So if they're near each other, they get to look at the top of their table, regardless of how many damage.
That's
how
pretty
much
damn
damage
good, though.
It's really good for Bloodthirsters.
That's really good.
And then the Bloodthirsters have some abilities built into them, which we can go into to talk about combos, about letting them fight one after the other like they used to. So you have to build it that way, but it's now an option again.
Okay. So tell me a little bit, going off Bloodthirster, tell me about Scarbrand. Is he better? Is he good? I know a lot of people have been thinking about him, maybe, with the new demons.
I really like Scarbrand. He's just fun. He hits like a freaking truck. He's a lot of points, but they've updated his War Scroll, so now he doesn't have to abstain from fighting for the entire battle round.
Right.
He just has to abstain from one turn.
So tell me give me a situation about that.
Right. So there's a rule with Scarbrand where if you don't fight in one of the turns in a battle round, then the next battle round, starting on the second round, you get to look at the bottom of your table. And normally monsters don't want the bottom of their table, but Scarbrand likes to be angry. He gets more angry the more hurt he is. So looking at the bottom of his table gives him stupid stuff like 8 attacks instead of 4. He gets 2-ups on hits. He gets there's one of his attacks is you roll a dice, and if that goes over, you do 8 mortal wounds. That's it. You just roll one dice. If you roll a 6, it's 16 mortal wounds. So
that's wild.
At the bottom of the table, it's a 1+. It's basically, and because it's not a to hit or to wound roll, it's unfailable. It's just, if you look at the bottom of your table, that's 8 mortal wounds.
Yeah, because you just automatically do that. Yep. But you still roll for it.
So roll for the 16.
Yeah, you want to roll for the 16.
Scarbrand's really scary. He doesn't really combo with the Bloodthirsters at all.
That's kind of a bummer.
It is. And I was hoping they would have something, maybe if he was, I guess he can't really, he could be general, but doesn't get fun
all
stuff,
the
but
command traits and all that.
I kind of wish that they had done something there, but it's okay. I still run with him, so I usually will run Scarbrand and 3 Bloodthirsters.
It's pretty wild.
So 4 Bloodthirsters on the table, right? And then I really like Bloodletters. Used to be really, really good. Then they nerfed them to crap. Then they hit like wet noodles.
Yep.
And now they're kind of in the middle, I think. They don't hit crazy hard, but they have 2 wounds each now, and they have 2 inches of range. So they can have
that's nice.
The nice stack.
They don't have to be GV.
They don't have to be GV.
That's awesome.
They're 32 mil bases, so you can kind of get 2 stacks going. But they're nice. I like to run them now to just a lot of wounds because there's 10 of them, so it's 20 wounds you got to chew through. I think they have a 5-up save, so nothing crazy, but they're just They're good to run now.
So give me a little breakdown of the army, because we know you take demons. We know you like Scarbrand, the Bloodthirsters. Give me a little breakdown of what your army looks like at 2,000 points.
Yeah. So like I said, it's 3 Bloodthirsters and Scarbrand, and then I'll do 2 units of Bloodletters. I'll take one of the demon heroes. I always forget what they're called.
Demon hero.
They're like
yeah, you can look it up.
Yeah.
The Herald or something like that?
Yeah, it's like a Herald of Khorne. Bloodmaster.
Bloodmaster
is the one I take. So the Bloodmaster, now a priest, which is awesome. It's like, okay, cool, I'll take a hero that has an ability that goes with Bloodletters, and I'll get some priest stuff.
Got it.
And then I'll fill in the rest of the points with Reavers, Blood Reavers. So those are mortals.
Right.
But they're just cheap.
Fill out your battle line list.
Fills out my battle line. They're good screens just throw out there, especially when you're trying to keep people from attacking Scarbrand. It's not as important as it used to be, but I still like to have that ability. And then they're blood points. It's not super smart to just kill them immediately, but they're kind of little bombs too, because when they die, they get to do a mortal wound potentially on a 5-up. So they're just nice to kind of fill that space. Now, the alternative way that I'll run this too is with Fleshhounds and Karnak.
Getting rid of
getting rid of the Bloodletters.
Got you.
The Fleshhounds are a little bit pricier to get as many on the table, so you kind of have to mix and match a little bit. But the Fleshhounds are really nice against Magic too, because they have what's called the Collars of Khorne, which get a unbind.
Dang.
Each unit of Fleshhounds gets 1 unbind.
That's great. How many can you take in that army?
I mean, in that setup, probably if you split them up, probably 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
That's units
pretty good.
3 or 4 units of 5.
That's 3 other opportunities to dispel, which is amazing for you now.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I really like running that.
Cool.
When I run Bloodthirsters, I will run each. I'll run each one. The reason I do that is there's one that has the ability that I like to make it so that they kind of all attack in sequence.
Right.
There's one that I take that just does a ton of damage. It's just a damage output machine, melee damage.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's definitely kind of a gamble, but I like kind of running that. The other one is kind of just an all-around, both ranged and melee that I'll take that one. I also just built them as all 3.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll build each one.
Yeah.
And I'll play with each one.
And you can always change them too if you need
you can proxy them and do whatever. But so the way that their combo really works is the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster has an ability that when they attack, they get to pick another Bloodthirster within range to immediately attack after.
Got it.
So that right there is
that's the Wrath, right?
That's the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster. So that's 2 Bloodthirsters that get to go one after the other.
They
have to be within range, right? So I keep the Wrath of Khorne in the middle. But there's an artifact you can give him that will let them strike first.
Ooh.
So every attack sequence, they strike first. So that's 2 Bloodthirsters striking first.
That's wild. And
then if it's my turn, I can choose the 3rd Bloodthirster. So on your turn, I'm not going to get all 3. I'll get 2 of them.
Right.
But
still,
that's
really scary. That's a lot of damage output if they all get into combat on the same turn.
They're very spearhead. Like you're going to get in there and you just tear them apart.
Dang.
So that's kind of the way that I play Khorne is try to kill them as fast as possible.
Ultra bruiser.
Right. Because, I mean, you have Scarbrand who can do stupid amounts of damage.
Yeah.
Bloodletters deal a decent amount, but it's the Bloodthirsters that just come in and they crush people, especially the Insensate Rage.
Yeah.
It has an ability that on the to wound roll.
To wound.
On a 6 on the to wound roll, it does an area of effect.
And
it's like within 8 inches. Any unit within 8 inches gets at the top of the table. It's 4 wounds.
That's wild.
And that's stacked. So if I rolled 3 6s,
yep,
that's 12 mortal wounds on top of regular damage.
Wild.
And then it's the damage is a D3 plus 3 for 7 attacks. Like it's dumb.
Yeah.
So
worth it though.
Yes,
especially for the points because they're expensive. How many points are they?
They're like 360, 340.
Okay.
They 320, differ. Kind of in that range. Yeah, they differ a little bit. I think they made all 3 of the Bloodthirsters the same now, but I can never remember because they used to be different. And then Scarbrand's obviously, I think he's like 480 or something like that.
So going off of that, tell me a little bit about the artifacts. They don't really have spells, but they'll have prayers.
Yep.
Endless spells. Tell me a little bit about that kind of stuff.
Right. So I'll start with prayers because I really like this combo that I'll do. So the faction terrain allows you to reroll chanting rolls for priests, which is great. But it also has an effect where if somebody on the table,
Okay.
if an enemy wizard miscasts, so roll snake eyes,
Right.
instead of taking D3 damage, they take D6 damage,
That's good.
which is awesome.
That's fun.
It's really nasty.
That's really fun.
One of the prayers you can take from the enhancements is that you pick a wizard, and if they are unable to complete a spell, if it fails, so if it's unbound, if they just don't roll it, they'll take D3 wounds.
Gotcha.
So I've already had a couple instances where I'll pick a croak, right, who's just doing it a ton.
Yep.
High chance for miscast. D6 plus D3 wounds because
That's wild.
of the terrain feature and because of the prayer. So it's a fun combo that I like to do.
It's really good against magic people like Seraphon.
Right. But a lot of the other prayers are really good. There's one that gets you blood points. You can really build your Khorne army to be around blood points too, which is
Right.
cool. I haven't done that yet. I want to build something like that.
You can build it more around blood points.
Yes.
I feel like the way you play it, you get so much blood points.
Well, right, but there you can go even further than that, right?
That's wild.
So where,
That's wild.
I mean, the whole army gets that ability for the magic, right? So that they get a
Right.
blood point, but none of my other units on the table get more blood points.
That's true.
But there are some other units that are like, oh, if you do this, you get blood points. If you take damage, like, damage yourself, you get blood points. This one is blood sacrifice. You deal damage to a friendly unit, you get a blood point. So
That's cool.
you can kind of go crazy with it. And then just a lot of melee like stuff like bronze flesh gives you extra save and stuff like that. As for artifacts, because you're playing both demons and mortals, there's so many of them. There's a ton. The strike first.
That's a no-brainer.
Oh my gosh.
Especially for the way you run yours with the 3 bloodthirsters.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't
And
you take
I
that?
honestly haven't really even used any other artifacts because of that.
I feel like in AOS sometimes they'll just have those artifacts just to be the option rather than, but you're always going to take that one artifact that's, why wouldn't you take that? I mean,
I don't know.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's too good.
Yeah.
It's way too good. So there's a lot of just there's a lot of just combat heavy artifacts for this.
Yeah.
It's like they get a mortal wound ward of 4 up. They get to remove wards from any unit that's that's within 3 inches of them. Like,
that's pretty good too.
it gets really fun. So these have some cool.
All that's great. So that artifact is wild. But tell me a little bit about some combos of your army. What do you like to take? What are some hidden things that players might encounter when fighting Khorne?
So definitely Bloodthirsters. That Bloodthirster combo is really nasty.
It's real nasty.
There were a lot of combos that are no longer in existence.
Okay.
A big one was Wrathmongers with, you had
Wrathmongers.
Wrathmongers
Those
were
guys with the
they're kind of the
axes?
swing
Okay.
axes. They gave extra attacks to other not other Wrathmongers, but to other units near them.
Okay.
So you have Reavers with that.
Right.
Then you would have a Blood Secretor, which is a totem that would give additional attacks. So you could potentially be running Reavers with 4 attacks each,
Okay.
which are 80 points.
But that's not there anymore.
It's not there anymore.
Okay.
It's gone. So Blood Secretors are completely. I don't even think they're useful.
Why
at
would
all
you take
anymore.
them?
Yeah.
Just
I
take
just don't think they are.
bloodthirsters.
Just like Bloodthirsters.
Yeah.
But if you want to do the mortal route, like there's
Right.
different combos for them now, very different. So you don't need to really worry about that kind of stacking. Other than that, I think other than the Bloodthirsters too, just I think the army overall has a bunch of smaller kind of groups you can run.
Yeah.
So you run Karnak with the Fleshhounds. You can run
Little synergies here and there.
yeah, the Bloodletters with some of those heroes. Skulltaker has a couple things that he can help with the Bloodletter. So there's some combos, but not as like everything's built around this big thing.
You can
right?
kind of have little packs of things
Yep.
that do special things, right?
Yep.
So grand strategies and battle tactics suck. But
They do.
and I've noticed for some of my books, they're actually okay. Like I'm taking the new Soulblight ones; they're actually not too bad. But are there any good, useful ones in yours? Are they any good?
Yeah.
Can you actually use them consistently?
So there's one grand strategy
Okay.
that I like to take, which is I have to pick a hero
Okay.
and I must kill that hero,
Okay.
but my general can't be slain.
That's a pretty good one.
which is great because I make a Bloodthirster general.
Right.
So that's 16 wounds.
It's going to make it hard.
And it makes it really hard to kill
Because
them.
you don't necessarily want to get close to those guys.
But I'm jumping them in the fray, so that's where it...
I see.
It's
a little risky, but I feel like grand strategy-wise,
Yep.
Pick your poison kind of a deal.
There's another one that's really interesting, especially if you build for blood points, where you have to spend your blood points to summon every turn after the first, or every round after the first, so 2 through 5, which is an interesting one. I thought that was kind of a cool concept, that you just have to constantly be summoning things to get your grand strategy. Battle tactics...
Any good battle tactics?
I wouldn't say there's any that's like you just take this one.
Yeah. I feel like everybody feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the really notable battle tactics are like eye for an eye. That's like, cool, I'm going to kill another unit after this one. Right, so they don't really have any. I wouldn't say that they have any that are really terrible. I mean, I'm sure they have 1 or 2, but when it comes to like, you have to pick 5. Like, they've got some options. They're very situational, but you do have some options with them.
So this is a priest army. What kind of good invocations do they have?
They have invocations.
Okay.
I don't necessarily like running them.
Really?
They're not great.
I feel like everybody ran those skulls, right?
They did.
Okay.
And then they nerfed priests in 3.0 because priests used to be able to do their war scroll prayer, their enhancement prayer, and their invocation.
Gotcha.
Now they have to pick one. So with Khorne, you're not really taking a whole lot of priests. I'm going to take one in this list that I have, and I would rather punish a sorcerer. Yeah. Especially because I don't have magic.
Might as well.
To really like push against that, because that's something I run into a lot with Fire Slayers, is not having magic is really tough. So obviously I have the 5-up ward on magic, but being able to be like, hey, Croak, hey, Nagash, hey, whoever, like, you are now scared to cast, because every time you don't cast correct, like you fail the casting roll, or I unbind with something like a flesh hound, that's wounds you're taking. So
that's wild. Yeah, they so you don't take any of the new invocations, or do you?
No, I've played around with the Hexgorger skulls.
Okay.
They're very anti-magic as well, but they've changed those a little bit.
But not like super, I need this in my list to be really wild.
I'm sure there's builds that you can.
Okay.
But I wouldn't necessarily say that you're missing out on not having the invocations. You can always save some points. Save the dollars, save the points.
Save the dollars, save the points.
But you have to get the terrain feature. That's an absolute must.
Yeah, that sounds like an absolute must.
That terrain feature is for 0 point. Like, oh my gosh, it's crazy.
I feel like everybody's factions with terrain features should take them.
Oh,
if they have the option, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's for 0 points. So definitely something worth getting.
So I want to play Blades of Khorne. Give me some pro tips, like your all-time favorite ways to play them. I know we talked a little bit about that, but if I want to get into this, what kind of tips would you give me?
So I would say pick some models that are fun, that you like. I've noticed that they've really allowed you to split between either just demons or just mortals. Yeah. It used to be you would have a mix of the two. I think you can still have a mix of the two, but it feels like a lot less of that now. So you kind of have to pick mortals or demons, which I don't know how I necessarily feel about, but obviously I wanted to just do demons, so
you kind of already chose.
Yeah, I did, and you can do it. It's not like you can't. So pick some units that you really like. The Warcry units are garbage. Don't use them. I mean, you can if you have them.
Seem that way.
A lot of the Warcry units are just not good. There's way better units to pick in Khorne. With Khorne, you want to go in hot and heavy. Just try to get as close as you can to them. Just try to kill as many of them as you can. That's the whole thing. It's okay if you get if your units die, even like
they're just gonna do damage.
Well, you want to do damage and kill units because you get blood points, and it's okay when you die because you also get blood points. Okay. So obviously you don't want specific people to die.
But don't be too scared to die.
But don't be too scared. Especially if you're running mortals, it's a little bit harder because you can't just say, oh, this mortal's coming back.
Right.
Demons you can, because demons just come back. Right. So Bloodthirster, oh, that Bloodthirster's back. This unit of Bloodletters are back. So you can really get fun with that. So dive in, try to kill as much as you can, get those blood points from either units dying, you killing units, and that's really kind of the big thing with them. They move a little slow. Bloodthirsters move really fast. So do hounds. So
Yep.
it's just getting to obviously objective play, but if you're just killing stuff, I mean,
They're pretty bruiser.
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. There's no one left for them to fight or fight with. So
awesome. So as a whole, Khorne sounds really scary right now.
Yep.
So if I'm coming at you as an opponent, how do I beat you?
So
obviously no magic, I guess. You
well,
just have to kill
that's
you.
The thing is, right, so you'd think, okay, let's do magic, but even then
it's tough.
you're feeding me blood points.
Right.
And we talked about summoning. We didn't even get into the other abilities of blood points of like spending 8 blood points gives everybody on the table +1 to their attack characteristic.
Man,
that stacks.
Those buffs are wild.
So I can do those multiple times. So if I get enough points in the beginning, like maybe I don't spend on a bloodthirster, but now all these bloodletters are 4 attacks each rather than 2.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Bloodletters got 2 attacks each now. So that's a fun little niblet that I forgot about. But
little nibbly.
Little niblet.
So
niblet. It's tough to really know now. I've played quite a few games.
Mm-hmm.
The times I've really struggled against are tar pits. So when we played, I played your Soul Blight.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many zombies, so many skeletons.
A lot of zombies.
What I ran into was I couldn't kill you fast enough, and you weren't killing me. So I'm not getting any blood points. Blood points are nothing.
And I'm just sitting there.
And you're sitting on objectives. I'm also slow, so if I get stuck somewhere and it's like turn 4 and it's like, I finally kill you, I can't move anywhere.
So hordes might be a good little battle
I think will be a good thing against them. Now, hordes with things like how the zombies explode, like that's really scary.
Right.
Even the stuff that I do with the mortals when I slay them, right? Because even if you are a horde army, if a bloodthirster does 30 damage, Scarbrand does so much damage. But if you just like, every 4 ups of mortal wounds, even if half of those go, it's the chance, right?
That's the thing with those zombies
wounds.
Are wild. On 5s, they'll just blow up and come at you. But
so what I've seen is those tar pits are really, really tough to fight against. I just can't.
Because you can't get the blood points. They can't. They can't give you the blood points. Yep. So there's a little.
So I'm not getting my extra abilities. I'm not able to summon anything onto the table to do, some around this back shenanigans, and then, that's the problem. But they're also expensive units. I mean, a unit of 10 bloodletters is 180 points. So
10 of them is 180.
10 is 180.
Is that reinforced?
Expensive. No,
that's not reinforced.
Nope.
Wow.
So they are expensive, and especially when I run 4 bloodthirsters, so there's not a lot on the table. So when I get sucked into something,
you kind of have to utilize all your points because they're going to hit hard, but if they get stuck somewhere, it's going to be a little bit difficult.
Right. So that's where I've really struggled. When it comes to other armies that also hit really hard, it's kind of just who hits harder. My strike first really helps.
Yeah.
Because that's 2 bloodthirsters.
Strike first is really good.
It's 2 bloodthirsters that get to hit.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm making sure that they're positioned right, if it's my turn, that's 3. So I've seen a lot of armies that even charge me, and they get a bunch of buffs when charging me, but I still
unless they have a strike last to nullify it.
Right.
Even then, it's not a lot.
Even
of
then,
things
they get to strike once, and then I get to do.
And you get to
2
do your
bloodthirsters.
thing again.
Yeah. So
that's wild.
That's where
they're hard.
Where I've seen is just those tar pits. So far, I played Seraphon, lots of magic. Not
that's
a huge
tough.
Problem.
Yeah.
Just because they give me so many points.
Right.
But
because that's her whole thing. If an army is all about magic, they have to do that to get their buffs. And if they're if they miss or if you dispel them, then they're kind of screwed.
Yep. And I've seen a lot of lists play with the new hero that came out. I think it's the Realmgore Ritualist, I think is what they're called. I have the book here in front of me. The Realmgore Ritualist. I didn't get them.
Okay.
They look really fun. They look cool. They look like they're kind of a buff heavy unit, but
is that a priest?
It is a priest.
Okay.
It is
that's the new one, right?
A mortal priest.
Okay.
So, I don't play mortals.
Right.
I have them because I used to need to, but I just prefer to play lots of demons.
Cool.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to be starting to put all of these Army spotlights into the podcast tab on YouTube. So feel free to listen to it, watch it, however you want to listen or watch your podcasts. You'll find a new tab under there. We figure that this is something that we can do that is easy for us. We like talking about this stuff. And if you guys like it, let us know. If you want to hear or see a different army, let us know in the comments. So yeah,
make sure to join our Discord. We have a really cool community in there. We like to talk about this stuff. We post lists in there. We talk about painting,
rules, all that
kind of thing. And then we'll also have 2 links down in the description for 2 lists that I play with at 1,000 points and 2,000 points that you can find. It will be in our Discord, so you can find those there.
Perfect. That's it.
That's all.
That's all she wrote.
It is.